is the Wannabe Saints podcast, where we take virtues and try to break them down so they become tangible and applicable to your life.
We aren't here to bring you advice, we're here to bring you advirtue. I'm Jordyn.
And I'm Rachel.
We're your hosts,
and this is Wannabe Saints.
Welcome back to Wannabe Saints, everybody. Tonight we have my sister Janelle on. She's going to share with us her story of perseverance. She's had a life full of her own health struggles, owning a business, being a mom, and many other things, obviously, but we can get into all of that. So, Janelle, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I hope that anything that I can share or say is helpful and fruitful, but if not, we'll just have a great conversation. And as always, just love on our faith and try to share that with everybody.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Tonight, we are doing one of our interview episodes. So Janelle is sharing with us her life story of perseverance. But before we dive into that, just to get everybody on the same page, I'm going to run through 3 definitions of what perseverance is. So the first definition, which is the general definition of perseverance, it is steadfastness and sustained effort in pursuing a goal or remaining on a chosen path despite obstacles, fatigue, or prolonged challenges. It involves patience, determination, and resilience, maintaining commitment even when success or relief feels distant. The second definition is more of our Catholic understanding of the virtue of perseverance, which is the continual adherence to goodness, love of God, and moral integrity despite hardship or the temptation to give up. It is not purely human effort. The Church teaches that it is a grace-infused gift from God, nurtured through prayer, the sacraments, and the practice of other virtues. And the last one, which is just another layer to that Catholic understanding of the virtue perseverance, is that it's heroic perseverance, which is the final perseverance. So obviously that's not the one that we're hitting on tonight, because final perseverance is that grace from God unto death to becoming a saint. So those first 2 are really what we're hitting on. And in my perspective, you have, over the years, which people will get to hear, grown in your faith. And so now I would look at you with perseverance in that true virtue. And it's like also a grace from God. But in your young years, I mean, I know that you guys grew up with faith, but maybe it was a little bit more of just that, like something that you had to just have because of life circumstances. And you didn't really know that it was maybe a gift from God, but you also had to choose grit and choose that perseverance.
Yeah, those are good points. And it definitely, I can definitely see my life in sort of like 2 segments, before Christ, after Christ type of a thing, the whole BC era of my own life. I was thinking about perseverance and just obviously preparing for this and reflecting on my life. And you said in the definitions that it is a gift from God, which I think all virtues are.
Yes.
And it's almost like, I think some of us are just gifted with stronger virtues in some areas. And then we all have like our kind of weak points too. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, I think that definitely this one is something that I could not necessarily obtain all on my... We can't obtain, I guess, any of them on our own. But interestingly, I recall very vividly growing up, in part of what my young faith life was about was really learning about the saints. I've always attributed to like my own faith growth and just kind of like understanding of and attraction to the whole spiritual side of our faith and everything was just really like studying saints. Not that I got super deep into all of them, but the ones I was especially attracted to were Saint Therese of Lisieux and Saint Teresa of Avila. I don't know if I had a thing for the name or what, but them two were like my biggest go-to friends. And like, so even as a child, and I'm kind of thinking like age 9, 10, 11, that whole range, I started really noticing them and trying to read about them. And they both suffered so much. They're both Carmelites. They're just powerhouse saints. But I so admired them in their suffering. I was like attracted to their suffering. That's kind of strange, I think, for like a child. And I'm like, shoot, did I like call that into my life by thinking about it? Or like, I literally, as a young person, wanted to suffer. I actually was really focused on that a lot in that age range. And so maybe that was just like to help set me up. I had these 2 friends to help me through everything, but I thought about that. But mostly it's a gift. And I'm thankful for that. I've always been attracted to just strong people, stories of strength, stories of perseverance, Joan of Arc, like you name it. So
that's amazing. And I had no idea that that was something that you were attracted to in your childhood. That's really cool. It totally is like a setup for your life. But, you know, they say that sometimes we choose the saints, but then some saints choose us. And at an early age, they clearly put themselves in your path. And
yeah, absolutely.
Because God
I
was
always
like,
think
these
they choose us too.
Oh yeah. God is like, here's your friends, here's your people,
right?
Your spiritual friends.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I mean, let's start at the beginning. Can you just share a little about your upbringing and how being the second oldest child in a big family shaped your perspective on responsibility and perseverance?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just naturally being in that age range amidst like 7 children, there's responsibilities that come your way, but it's not really like a main memory that I have, honestly. Like it seems like that had to be, but again, I almost think either it doesn't stick out or just like all things, like challenges and responsibilities, they just come and you accept it and you keep going and they don't even necessarily stand out.
And it's like you wouldn't know otherwise.
You don't know different. You're given what you're given and that's just your life. So I don't necessarily view it that way. And it's like the same as like through all of my life as we get further on in age and whatnot. To some other things may look that it was challenging or difficult or I persevered through something, but to me, it just seems normal. So same thing growing up, just super thankful to have parents that both came from Catholic families and shared the faith with us. They had us praying the rosary as a family. We never, ever, ever missed Mass. Everything was like just very clear that this is a priority of life. So I think that was just a huge setup for the future for all of us in our family.
Yeah.
I guess, to add, as a child, sufferings began. Like I had just a few incidences that kind of sort of like put me in a position where I felt like, why are things always happening to me? Why am I the one that's injured? Why am I the one that's sick? Why am I the one that's doing this? But you have to keep living and you have to keep going. So even as a child, having some challenges, which were nothing serious or major, had some teeth issues and just a variety of ailments. My mom recalls me kind of complaining about different pains and different things, and no one ever really knew what they were, but you just keep dealing with it and moving on.
Do you feel like you've had stomach issues your whole life?
It's funny because I don't really remember having stomach issues, but Mom remembers. Mom has told me that I would say like, I'm having this sharp pain like in my heart and stuff. Like I was always having just
weird things happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is a foreshadowing to what you'll get to know about something more recent for Janelle. Exactly. But you have to keep listening to find out.
Yeah, definitely.
Why Jordyn asked that question. Yeah. Your childhood was more or less those saints being introduced into your life.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, I just think that learning about the saints is like one of the best things that we have too is as Catholics, because they're just like these superheroes of virtue, obviously. And it's just so amazing. And also where you can relate is like, there's sometimes when you think of their stories, they look so amazing after the fact, but when they're going through it, they probably didn't realize. Like St. Teresa of Avila having like chronic, like serious headaches.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that. You don't think that that's the formation of one of the greatest saints of all time.
So true. Mm-hmm. Well, and when I teach my students, at the beginning of the year, I'll usually have them like come up with every virtue they can or every vice that they can, right? And then when we look at the virtue board, I'm like, well, can you be patient? Can you be kind? Can you do this? Can you be generous? This, that, and the other. Yeah, I could do all of that. Okay, that's the thing that stands between you and being the saint is virtue. But everybody's personality has its different flaws. So it's just a matter of, okay, maybe you are gifted in patience, right? Like you're gifted in perseverance, clearly. And there's other people out there who you probably are like, are you kidding me? That's what you're complaining about?
Totally.
Because that's not their gift. But maybe their gift is being generous. It's cool how when you can put it into that light, sainthood all of a sudden becomes obtainable to us.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's just a matter of what's your defect, work on the opposite of that, and become the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And I think, too, there's such a relation from one virtue to the next that they like feed each other. Like,
Yes, they do.
100%.
It's just like if you break it down, you have the first faith, hope, and charity.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you just look at those three alone, like everybody can probably say that they have a strength in one of them.
Yes.
Like we are so gifted with some virtue. I feel like it's almost like God's, okay, here, I'm going to arm you with a few weapons.
Yeah.
And
then you have to figure out how to grow in the others using the ones you do have, and obviously obtaining grace and all the things. But it's just like they so help each other out.
they do. It's like a massive web. What's at the center? And then where does it grow from there? And how do they all connect? Because it's like perseverance itself comes from fortitude. Right? So it's hand in hand.
Right.
But there's like a little spin on each one that makes it that just a tiny bit different.
Yeah, it's so true.
So,
and I was thinking too about like just personalities in general. It's interesting, people take personality tests, and I think there's something to be said for like being complacent or accepting where you're at with virtues. I guess what I'm trying to say is when you're not thinking in terms of faith and virtue, these things become personality traits, and we can take those tests and you're like, oh, that's just who I am. Like, I'm just good at this and I'm not good at that. Or like my personality is, here are my strengths. It's, we know we have strengths and weaknesses, but nobody ever thinks like you're actually supposed to work on the weaknesses.
Well, so it's actually really funny that you bring this up because 2 weeks ago, we had our Staff Institute Day and they had us take the temperament test. And we read on this. So it's your temperament is what you're born with.
Mm-hmm.
Your character is what you build.
Yes.
So your character is the virtue. You have been born with a temperament that you cannot change. But what you can change is the virtue and your character. So if you're, so like myself, for example, so the temperaments are sanguine, phlegmatic, melancholic, and choleric. I'm mostly sanguine, which is the people person, like you love people. And then I'm also choleric, which is the doer.
Mm-hmm.
But it gave you virtues and vices that you struggle, or ones you're good at and ones you're bad at. And I was reading it and I was like, that is not true. And then I read more and I was like, wait, that's so funny. Like, it's one of my
true.
My temperament flaws is endurance. And I was like, what do you mean endurance? And it was endurance meaning like the mundane tasks. Like I will do
big things
all day long. But my laundry, I drag when it comes to little mundane things. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
I absolutely have the same problem.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And I actually know that about myself. I've thought so many times in self-reflection that it is so much easier for me to go through the biggest trial, challenge, suffering, whatever. That is so much up my alley, and I can totally handle that. But it is always those little mundane
like the small tests and the little annoyances. And
those are the thorns in your side.
Yes, 100%. It's like the big things I got all day. Like doing this podcast with Jordyn, it's all day, let's do this thing. And then I come home, I'm like, oh, I got to fold. Yeah, I'll wait.
Totally.
Those
to me, those are the ones that challenge me. That's where I have to really offer things up as sacrifices. And then it's really hard for me.
And then Natalie, my oldest sister, is like, I will fold laundry all day long. And I'm like, I don't understand that.
Totally.
I'm like, good for you. That is not me.
Exactly. Yeah. But it is so true. And that just, again, circles back to the fact that we are all gifted with certain values and virtues that come easy to us.
Yep.
And we admire the ones we don't have when we see them in somebody else. Oh, wow, that's so amazing. Yeah. Your level of temperance. Yeah. I could never say no to that.
Yeah.
It becomes so attractive. Everything that you don't possess yourself, you don't even notice. Like, actually be grateful for the virtues that you're gifted with easily. I think that's something to remember.
It's also really awesome to know that you can pray for that grace or that virtue, right? So if you know that you struggle with it, Lord, give me the grace to do this today.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it then fully on your own. And it's this, I have to make the effort, but also I need the grace to do this.
Yeah.
I did that last weekend. It took everything in me to ignore everyone all weekend and just like work on my computer on all of the things I was behind on.
Mm-hmm.
I probably spent 20 hours on my computer, and I got home from school on Friday night, and I laid on my bed, and I just looked at this picture of Jesus, and I was like, I need you to give me the grace to have the most productive night. And I got so much done. And the next morning I was like, I do not want to do this, but I need the grace to do this. And I got so much done. And but it's just taking the time to be like, yeah, I can't do this myself, and actually this is what I'm bad at. But
so true.
So help me do the thing that I'm bad at, and then what you like feel good at after doing it. So not only did you get grace, you're like, okay, I can do this, and you just build that and build that and build that.
Exactly. It is like muscles and working out. Like you have to work on it and at it to grow them. And it's not an easy thing, but it's definitely easier when you pray for it.
Yes.
100%.
Yep.
Obviously, Jesus is like the perfection of all virtue. It's okay, you have all of them and no flaws.
Yep.
So I need to borrow it. I need to borrow yours.
I need to borrow it, please. Yeah, that's so true.
So funny.
Amazing. All right. Well, going back to your story, let's move on to Elle and your journey with Elle. What motivated you to start your own salon at such a young age?
Well, so I was 23 when opening the business. And of course, I had support and family and my parents and sisters and everybody like behind me. So it wasn't like I did it on my own at all. But from my perspective, it just never seemed like there was another way. It just seemed like a normal, natural next step. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm dreaming so big for so long about this, and now I'm going to make my dreams come true or something. It's more of, it's actually more aligned with picking up your cross and carrying it than it is about pursuing a dream and living some kind of lifestyle that you design for yourself. It's okay, this is just, I guess, what I'm called to do. That's like the more inner, deeper feeling, which makes it so much easier to do because it's sort of just like buckling up and doing the work. I just step by step kind of just followed like what I knew to do, what made sense. And I guess there were aspects of opening a business at such a young age that just felt like, again, normal to me. There was like always this spirit I had of, again, tying in like from adolescence, teenage years and whatnot. I always had this sort of like desire for success. And that doesn't necessarily mean like monetarily only or anything like that. Just like a feeling of accomplishment is more so what I'm attracted to. And this kind of sounds corny, but I sort of have this warrior spirit in me. I even would contemplate, should I be in like the Marines or should I like be in the military? I just wanted to be like a G.I. Jane, Joan of Arc or something. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's always what you're called to do, but I was always into athletics and whatnot. And so it's like that whole feeling of working hard for something, for that sensation of accomplishment and gratification. So that to me was very attractive in owning a business as well. Just, I can take this. If other people can do this, if anybody can do it, I can do it. I had that feeling in me. So I guess long story short, it wasn't so much about, I want to own a hair salon and have whatever, like all it just is utilizing all the talents you have. And then you using that natural drive.
When you started, you didn't necessarily have the vision of what it is today. Or did
Oddly enough, I kind of did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome.
I did. And I guess that's sort of the funny thing, too, that we probably all experience. But one thing for me is always, if I can envision it, I can do it, or it can be done or should be done. It's almost like a guiding compass. That's my prayer type. It's almost like God gifts you with some ability to envision that clearly. That's what happens for me. So I could see that. It never felt surprising. I never felt like, wow, I never knew it could be so successful. It just seemed so normal and
just like a natural,
and it just was like, yeah, of course. You just work hard and you make things happen. Like, again, I think there is obviously perseverance in that, but there is just that no option not to be successful.
Yeah.
There is no will this be successful. It's obviously
this is going to be successful.
It's going to be. Yeah. And I know what I need to do.
Did you ever hit a moment where you were kind of in a headspace of, oh man, is this going to work? Or
I not one time felt that way.
Wow. Okay.
I could say with 100% clarity and honesty that I never one time doubted whether or not the business would be successful and that I could do what I needed to do to get that through.
Yeah. It's amazing. That's incredible.
Do you want to just give like a little context and like a little background of what Elle is, what it is today?
So my business is Elle Salon, and it is a pretty large hair salon. There's usually around 40 to 50 employees. My several sisters all work with me, and we've been in business for 18 years. So I was 23 back when opening the salon after only being out of high school for 5 years. And it's just been it's a well-known staple, like local business around our area, and very successful. And it's been a great gift.
It's a gift to me as well. So thank you for all of your hard work that I may have.
Yeah. It's interesting. The salon, as you guys both know, and we've had many conversations amongst ourselves over the years, just kind of reflecting on like the type of business, the type of work that Elle is, especially being always trying to live our vocations as Catholic women, wives, mothers, but also working and trying to kind of tie those together. And like the salon, you think of a hair salon and a lot of people instantly just think, okay, it's vanity or beauty or whatever. But it's seriously been such an opportunity to reach people, love people. It sort of is very vocational in of itself. It's a very intimate type of experience that we have, like one-on-one with people. Doing that with like prayer and faith behind it all of these years. Not that it's always like perfectly like that. You can get into the routine of the day-to-day work, but it's so relationship based. It is very intimate. There are so many connections and relationships. This is not a revolving door salon. This is like long-term relationship building that we have. It's like a home. It's cozy. Yeah. It's like a place, like it's like our missionary of charity. Yeah. It's like our way to touch people and love people and care for them and love them and pray for them. And that's really how it is.
Yeah.
I think that's how most of us, if not all of us at the salon, treat our job.
Right.
So it's been a very like huge blessing and very fruitful in a lot of ways, I think, for a lot of people. So it's sort of like just our catalyst or our vehicle that it's like, okay, here's how you're going to connect to people and, whatever, live the gospel or what have you.
Change people's lives, especially when they're going through so much too of like their own struggles and perseverances and all of that kind of stuff. Like,
right. You look at a day at work, it's like kind of glancing ahead of your schedule. And, okay, I'm going to think about it as you have like divine appointments all day. I have all these clients scheduled. My job is like to do their hair, but it's sort of more, how can I be there for them?
Right.
I mean, that's what we're really doing, like all through the day, every single day.
You're also definitely like a therapist.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just listening. It's just being there and just being that person and loving them.
I had a lady like a week or two ago. She's been like, she's someone who's persevering through life for sure. She's had multiple surgeries, been in multiple car accidents, and she's just, it's amazing that she's alive. And she's just, thank you for listening to me and being here. My husband gets sick of it and I have no other family. And she like literally hugged me and was like crying.
Oh, there's so many tears and so many hugs, but like so much love. Like every single day.
Each person, it's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. It's been a huge, huge blessing, and it's definitely like our own little like mission.
It is.
That's awesome.
Comes with its challenges.
For sure.
If you want to tie perseverance into
yeah, no, seriously.
Definitely.
I suppose like anybody in any field of work or any state of being like in their life can probably relate their life, their challenges to like the life of Christ or to just God's greater plan. It's like there's always like these relatabilities, especially for us being able to utilize like the rosary to meditate. You'll be going through whatever, pick up your rosary and you're like, wow, it's like these exact alignments with all of these moments in the life of Christ. We're living them. So it's like there's just a constant opportunity to learn from that and experience that. And it goes basically back to suffering because joys are so easy to enjoy and live. But all the moments that are challenging, like having to communicate through hard moments and feel betrayed at times by people, not heard, not loved back, there's just so many stressful situations. And when you're dealing with people, because that's where our challenges come from, is basically from each other, I think. And nobody's perfect. And it's just like you're put in positions all the time where you really need God's grace to get through them.
Yeah.
So you have faced significant personal challenges, things like miscarriage and all your health issues. How have these experiences shaped your understanding of perseverance?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so many people I have suffered, and I'm not alone in that, which is great. And we can all learn empathy and understanding of one another's sufferings just by our own trials. So that's been very helpful for me in shaping me even into the person I am today. If I haven't suffered, I would be a completely different person. Like, it always humbles you. It always teaches you greater love, greater patience, greater empathy. I think the empathy is huge. Like, I can understand so many people in so many different versions of suffering because I've had such a variety of them.
You really have.
And they just really just keep coming. Like, I've just almost like rarely had a good stretch of time where I hadn't had something like challenging come my way. And again, luckily I was gifted with perseverance. So I guess it was all set up correctly. So I guess I can sort of outline a timeline of the variety of sufferings kind of I went through in my earlier years, which kind of just all continued to where I am now. But as a teenager, even, I had a surgery at 17. I had my appendix removed, which was stemming from like other health issues that were already happening, mostly like digestive and sort of like just things that I didn't even really understand that were happening to me. Kind of dealt with that. And even that is a perfect example of kind of pushing through. I had that surgery. I was in a basketball season, my senior year of high school, and I just couldn't bear the thought of not being a part of like the team and playing. Like, I wanted so badly. I loved the fight. Like, I loved playing. I wanted to win. And just, again, that same feeling that I'm always like apparently chasing after, like this like gratification. But I played in a basketball game within 6 or 7 days of that surgery.
Jeez.
Which is probably
You're
not
insane.
recommended. And I didn't care. I didn't think about how is this going to impact me down the
rest of your
road,
life.
which, and I've even thought that may actually be part of how this recent episode with my health happened, is because I may have caused worse scar tissue at the time by doing that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But to me, I didn't think of it that way. I'm like, again, that warrior mentality of I'm going out there doing this as if it mattered, like it's a basketball game. But at the moment in my life, that was what was important to me. So I went through that. And again, normal teenage stuff, like feeling betrayed by friends or just whatever, trying to just navigate life. Got married at 22, and which is pretty young, but also could be all right. But it was just a challenging, very challenging relationship and marriage in a lot of ways. Not always, but in many ways. And we yearned to have children and a family, and suffered multiple miscarriages. And they weren't even simple miscarriages. I had like extreme illness through them, like hyperemesis, bedridden, levels of like nausea and pregnancy sickness that are incapacitating. And I am having like a new business that's only a couple years in, and I couldn't even go to work sometimes because I was like kept going through pregnancy after pregnancy. I had three in a row-ish. I mean, it was over the span of like maybe a year or two. And again, no idea why, never getting help from doctors, just kept saying things like, oh, this just happens. And like no one even tried to like offer help, guidance, tests, whatever. Always trying to do my own research. Oh, and also to backtrack, I already was suffering with health issues from the time I had that surgery. And even before that, I was constantly seeking like medical help, holistic doctors, you name it. A lot of digestive problems and fatigue. I had mono really bad. And while I was going through beauty school, I didn't even stay home. I didn't know I had mono at the time. So I couldn't even open my eyes barely to the light driving. I had to put sunglasses and squint because it's so sensitive to the light. And I was so fatigued I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't know what was wrong with me. It never crossed my mind that I would stay home. Like, I'm just like, okay, just go. So it's like, I just pushed through that. And then that gives you Epstein-Barr virus, which I had chronic fatigue syndrome, basically. And so many challenges, things that make it hard to get up every day, basically, for all of that time and all through my whole entire life. So I didn't know if the miscarriages were related to some of these issues or what it was, hormonal, who knows, just meant to be things. And after going through that, I did have another miscarriage maybe even 2, just if it was like really early on. It was kind of hard to tell after I had my son. So I often say I had 5 or 6. And I know, again, to be vague, that sounds confusing, but there was sort of like a non-confirmed, but that I believed was. But what was so cool was, and I was extremely sick through my pregnancy with my son as well. The entire 9 months, I had a very difficult labor that I believe I almost died in. The doctors didn't really say it that way, but they sort of framed it in another way. But it was like very touch and go and crazy. But I had named my son Anthony John. I love St. Anthony, so he was another one of my good friends. And John after my grandfather, plus obviously all the saints that are John. It's such a great Catholic name. And I didn't realize until later I started using my passwords for things were my son's name and middle name and birthday. It's not still, so we're good. But I started writing often Anthony John and his birthday 3/16. And then I just had this whole revelation one day where I'm like, oh my gosh, Anthony John 3/16. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get tears. Just that God gave me this son. I'm like, so blessed to have one child. And so despite having like miscarriages and suffering, all of that, just like you're just so grateful to even get to be a mother and have a child. So, oh my gosh. I talked about it. I don't talk about it all that often, but so he and I always have had our special bond as mother and son. And like I've shared that with him and he knows that he's so special. He used to say when he was little, he's 15 now. He used to say when he was little, I'm just like the lucky one that got to live of all your babies and stuff. So he knows that he's special and created for a purpose and for a reason. But
that's amazing.
I always thought that was like so just one of those like special things that are just that come together and you just have no idea until later.
Yeah. No coincidence with God.
No, not at all. No. Yeah. So that was very awesome. But yeah, going through all of that. And again, I can so relate to people who have miscarriages and struggle through pregnancies or infertility or all of the challenges of that just because of going through it. And I just can't imagine not knowing what that's like. It's so much easier to like understand Christ's love and love him back because you can understand his suffering better. And just suffering always relates you back to him and his passion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah. Okay, I have a thought.
Yeah.
Just on the topic of suffering, that sort of just an overarching thought about like just people and suffering and the whole question. You always hear people like talking about why does God allow suffering and why am I suffering or why is this and that? And it's just I just think that's all beside the point. Like I just don't think that there's such a thing as like a life without it. And this goes back to learning from the saints on that is that I have always felt more loved by God in suffering, not less. That's just, and I know many people can agree with that, but that's just like for me personally, how it's always seemed. It's kind of like this, I'm choosing you to suffer with me kind of a feeling. And it's just a little bit more of a heightened sense of like love from God. And it might sound backwards, but obviously we all know that true love requires sacrifice.
Him, and you realize that he gives the grace or whatever, or you start to lean on him, which I think is where that connection then draws you in. It's you're with me in this right now.
Right.
Where the people who are like, why do I have to suffer, are the people who don't see God in that light yet. And they're just like, why do I have to suffer if he's a loving God? But they don't have this perception of you can offer your suffering to something for someone, for whatever.
Right. Uniting it to the passion and
and that there is a beauty in the suffering, right? Absolutely. And there's transformation in the suffering and all these things in the suffering. The suffering is so good. But then it's also for all of us in the joyful moments. The Lord allows those because it's a sense of relief, right? You get to have this like sense of relief, but then it's also he brings you back to reality, right? Yeah. Because if you never suffered, you wouldn't rely on God.
Exactly.
And that's just the reality of the relationship.
Yeah, I definitely think most people, people can choose to turn away from God in their suffering. They have that choice, but I'd say like a lot of people get closer to God in their suffering. It's not a magic formula or like a mystery. I think a lot of people, even who didn't already start off with faith, they find like that they get desperate.
It's like you hit rock bottom and it's
what else
okay,
could
God.
there be? Yeah. Guys, talk about persevering. This podcast episode. Part
right.
800 now.
Gosh, you should do that in all of them. You guys.
To just let the people know how much persevering we've had.
Well,
in this
actually, I will
episode.
say if you notice a sound quality difference, it's because we're using travel mics now to do this episode. We've had the most tech issues I've ever had trying to record tonight. So,
Unfortunately, but we're good.
yeah, we're getting through it.
we're persevering.
Yes.
I don't think I want that virtue. I'm just kidding. That's how I feel about.
You're getting a little taste of my life.
Oh yeah, no, this is how I feel about patience.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not going to pay. I'm not praying for it. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I don't want to be tested.
I know. And that is actually a funny point because I have felt like that about many virtues. Do we really need to have them all?
I really have to do better in this area.
Because I don't want to.
Right. Who was that? St. Augustine or
yeah,
St. Paul?
No, yeah,
It's one of them.
Make me holy, but
But
just
that's not yet.
Oh man, and that's why we're wannabes.
Exactly.
Not gonna
My
be.
gosh. Right.
If anyone's really on the path to holiness, they should start a Gonna Be podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We're not there.
No, we discuss it. That's it. Just kidding.
Speaking of St. Paul, I mean, talk about perseverance. Man, that guy was such a BA.
Oh, he was. When he wrote Rejoice, one of his main lines that people quote about rejoicing in the Lord, he was in prison, starving, chained up, and the king who was king at the time was taking the Christians and like pouring black tar over them.
Ugh.
And that man said, rejoice. So crazy.
Oh my gosh, I know. He suffered
Insane.
so much, and so have so many Christians. And even still today, they're just being killed everywhere. We live in such a bubble here.
When did your health issues really start? Well, you said, was it like 17 or is just always in childhood?
Well, I just had some, I think, just things that set me up for that suffering as a child. And this sort of getting into more like trying to self-diagnose, like where did health issues arise or whatnot. But I just, like I said, had an incident with, it just was, honestly, it all started with falling off my bike when I was 6. I mean, and I think it really did kind of set me up for health issues because basically I was actually, okay, backtrack. I was born with a hole in my heart. And I have mitral valve prolapse. So there's a little, and it doesn't affect really anything for me currently. It's fine pretty much. But the hole that was in my heart when I was a child supposedly closed up eventually, like after the age of 12. Because I had the hole in my heart, I was at risk for infection and death if, like, I had, say, a tooth infection or whatever. I had to have like extreme antibiotics, but that would have been fine if I didn't have anything happen, but I fell off my bike, knocked my tooth out, and had to have a series of like dental, basically work throughout the years that required me to be on very heavy antibiotics for a long time because that could have been deadly. So it's like what it seems like so benign and not a big issue ended up probably destroying my gut and leading to future health issues with my digestive system. And so yes, so then by the time I was 17, like I was already suffering from, I guess probably medically could have been called like irritable bowel or who knows what, but I was also having like severe like bouts of throwing up, really, really severe stomach pains and throwing up month after month, week after week for like probably a year before finally going to the hospital. And then they said, well, let's take your appendix out. But it honestly was never determined if that was the cause or not.
Oh, so it wasn't like it burst.
It did not burst. It was
Interesting.
only inflamed.
That's
so
crazy.
right. So they recommended to take it out just as more preventative, but it never necessarily was determined that was causing any of those problems.
Oh,
So having said that, the throwing up kind of stopped, but only for a period of time because I've sort of like had similar things throughout. And actually what also is strange is the throwing up also, when I like looking back, seemed to be very commonly related to events. Almost was there an anxiety related issue going on?
Okay.
But it wasn't a conscious thing that I was like afraid of socializing. I was very like confident and social in some aspects, but maybe not in others. So it was like if I went to a concert, my first concert with friends, and I threw up the whole time I was there. I went to a haunted house, like place with friends, and I was throwing up the whole time. So this like feeling would come over me, and it was like not just throwing up, like it was like I was like very ill and very in a lot of pain. But then it also would just happen like at school too. So it wasn't
crazy.
like always, but like a lot of times related. So I don't know how that's all tied in, like mentally, spiritually, who knows what it is. But so I had the surgery at 17, and then again, like the Epstein-Barr virus. I've been diagnosed with Lyme disease. I've had like chronic fatigue. I've gone to the hospital emergency for a number of things through the years. Like I would get desperate and just be like, something is wrong with me. I get migraines with throwing up, so many mystery illnesses, like just challenges. I have like gluten intolerance. It's just like always been a challenge every single day to live, how you eat, how you feel. It's like my husband jokes and says, because every day it's sort of, again, me complaining and saying, oh my gosh, I don't feel good. And he's like, I have a game we can play. How about we just assume you don't feel good? And then you just tell me like the times you feel good, because that'll probably be more exciting. And I'm like, yeah, that works. So it's just like a life of literal feeling terrible all the time, which is kind of a lot of people go through that, like autoimmune type things and whatever, mystery illnesses, if you will. But so just recently, why I was probably on your mind for perseverance was I had a very serious then situation that all stemmed from that original surgery 24 years ago, where I had scar tissue left from the appendix removal that completely choked my small intestines. And it was like a very, very heavy suffering, extreme pain, blood supply cut off to the intestines. And I took it to the point where my husband and I thought I was going to die, and it could have been fatal. We were told for sure. I took a goodbye video.
This is so sad.
I know. It's actually really sad. And it sounded terrible because I was in so much pain and I could barely talk. And I gave up halfway through it because I was like, okay, sorry, this isn't good, but bye. And he literally took a video of me in case I died. Oh my gosh. And then yeah, so it ended up being an emergency surgery and 2 weeks in the hospital, but like a long, slow recovery after. But yeah, my surgeon was very adamant that it was extremely serious, and I did lose part of my small intestines and had a lot of issues going on. So the pain was off the charts. Like he said that the pain from having the blood supply cut off to your intestines, he said, is like known to be one of the worst pains a human can go through. And I could attest to say that is probably true because it was insane.
Yeah. I mean, like how you explained your arrival at the hospital, you were like in shock and crippled.
Yeah, my body.
You were frozen.
Like the amount of pain that I was going through basically in a matter of probably like 20 to 30 minutes, like depleted all of my potassium and electrolytes. My body was crashing because it used everything it had to like basically bear the pain. And I had alarmingly low levels of everything. They were like, this is like fatal levels. And my body was frozen stiff and convulsing and shaking, but like stiff. Like I couldn't like move my hands. They were like stuck in positions because just like the pain and shock that my body was going through. And then that basically lasted for 3 days with some moments of rest with pain medications, but it would come back. And I was just like tossing, and I don't even know like the words or sounds coming out of like my mouth were just like, I just was like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. You're not thinking, oh, I'm so strong, I can go through this. You're like, you actually almost like want to die.
Your life and death right
Yeah,
now.
it was life and death. And I definitely kind of had a moment too of feeling like, okay, so if I do die, I felt fine with it, to be honest. Like I didn't even think, oh no, I hope I don't die. All I could think of is it's going to be such a short amount of time until everybody that I know and love dies too. It's such a short life. That's all I could think of is I'm like, I really felt like I would only be very temporarily separated from people. And so that didn't seem scary at all to me. And I didn't die.
God.
for some reason. But the hand of God was like in all of that, despite the moments of like extreme suffering and kind of like the unknown path that was taking and feeling like I wasn't getting like the proper medical care. I had a client of mine, a hair client that I met in like just recent time within the last year, maybe. And he is a surgeon in the general area that we live. And he happened to have a haircut schedule the 2 days after I went into the hospital. So because he had previously had that scheduled, he received a call that I was ill in the hospital and couldn't do his hair. He reached out to me and was trying to get a hold of me. I wasn't really responding because I couldn't look at my phone because I was in too much pain to touch it or look at anything or even see the walls. And I finally got up like enough energy one morning to just say, okay, let me just see who's texted me or if there's anything I need to respond to that's urgent. And I saw that he was saying, please call me. Like, I want to know what's going on. So I called him. And again, I could barely even speak because I was so weak and I could barely breathe even, and tried to explain everything. And he was so calm and so like heroic. He literally just took control of the whole situation and said, you should have had surgery already. You need to have surgery. I'm out of town for the weekend, but I'm going to cancel everything, fly home tonight and give you surgery. Let's get you transferred to my hospital. And it was like, it just seemed like the rough water just calmed, even though I was still in it and extremely suffering. That was like when I was thinking like, okay, maybe I will live. Maybe I won't die. Maybe I will be okay.
Well, when he reached out to you, not only were you suffering with like, obviously your intestinal problem and all of that, but didn't the hospital prior like even mess up your IV and also...
It wasn't necessarily that they like messed up. It was more so like what they weren't doing.
Okay.
So again, because of, according to my client / surgeon, according to him, there were some obvious points, signs, or whatever kind of like symptoms that should have told them I needed surgery immediately, rather than to take the conservative approach that they may take with other people sometimes with an intestinal obstruction, to let it clear up on its own. But because of this, and this, it seems very obvious to me you should have had surgery right away. And I don't know why they didn't catch that.
Got it.
So because of that, they were kind of mistreating me almost, like she may be improving. It may be working itself out. Where then in my mind and in my body, I'm like, things are getting worse, not better. So I didn't understand like why they were like neglecting to take action and give me surgery.
Yeah.
So yeah, but by the time I did, ended up with surgery at midnight that third day, and he said I was like in kidney failure and just like my numbers were not good. And so basically what they were giving me as far as like hydration, nutrition, and things was not meeting the needs of my body.
Got it.
So that's I think where you were wondering that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and even one of his associate surgeons, he said she came to visit me when I first got to the hospital. He was still flying home. She checked in on me and she picked him up from the airport after seeing me in this state and said to him, "Oh, this girl is probably fine. You're probably just overreacting and you're kind of, in a sense, playing hero for somebody that you're like friends with or acquainted with." And he was like, "No, she's like very ill. I know she is." And then during the surgery, the first thing he did was get the camera into my abdomen. And he said that her face turned like white as a ghost and her jaw dropped because they saw how my intestines were dead. And that means very bad things. Had something gone like uncared for much longer, that would be fatal. So, I mean, it was like looking very serious and she just couldn't believe it. But I only say that to say it was very serious, and to think that, again, another medical professional could see me and think, "Oh, she's probably okay." Like, I think that's funny absurd. Because actually that's like a common theme in my life. Like, all of the times I've been so ill, I would go to doctors, go to the hospital, go to whatever. And every single time they're looking at me, the first thing a doctor would say is, so what are you here for? Oh, you're fine. Like they would always just be like, I think you're okay. Nobody really ever looked into anything because I think I just look like a healthy person or a strong person. Like I'm not a little frail, sick looking person all the time. So it's sort of adds to the need to bear suffering silently because people don't really even take you seriously or understand it's happening.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You make it look easy, I guess.
Gosh. So nuts.
But yeah.
Part of your gift.
So yeah, with the recent whole episode, that was just like a very interesting experience as far as like kind of being brought down to that level of suffering and just like a complete like derailment of your day-to-day living. And I kept thinking during that stay, 2 weeks doesn't sound very long until you can't do anything but just sit and wait and be in pain. So, I mean, even after having surgery, it's not, oh, the pain's gone. Like it doesn't end. It's just a different kind of pain now and a new kind of suffering. And something that stood out to me was that I found it extremely difficult to pray while in that state. And I don't mean in a sense of that I like didn't have faith or was like being tested in that way. I just physically and mentally could not focus enough to make prayers or to have a cohesive thought or pray a full rosary. I think I managed to do maybe one rosary and one Divine Mercy chaplet, which was not for myself. That was for another family member that was like going through a surgery and suffering at the time. So it's like I just couldn't gather the strength basically to do it. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Is that how people feel when they're like going through really hard times? It just made me realize how much more we need to pray for people who are suffering because it was very difficult. Like I just could not. And the only thing I could really think or pray was just like more so of a state of being and just saying, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you, like whatever the plan is.
Yeah.
And whether that's getting through this or not getting through this or whatever it's going to be, it's like being at peace with God's plan and his will. And that's the only prayer I could have. And everything else was kind of like left to, I guess, everybody else at the moment.
Wow. It's intense stuff.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Grateful you're here.
Yeah, that's the wildest part about it is I feel like 3 months later and I feel almost normal again. Pretty normal. So
yeah.
And
back
then it's like, oh, I'm just
suffering.
back to regular life. Yeah, back to regular suffering.
So crazy.
That is insane.
Wow.
Go back through a little bit more of your conversion and faith life. And
okay, so in a nutshell,
Yeah.
I would say that the temperament or the personality or the lack of virtue, if you will, that I had growing up and into adulthood and all of that was there. Despite having like what I thought was a deep faith at the time, there was such like a lack of virtue, I think, and self-control. And honestly, I really just felt like I didn't have a lot of empathy and emotions about a lot of things. And I just felt like I think I was just very much more egocentric. My perspective on life was I couldn't see things from other people's points of view as well, or even take the time or care to like really understand or listen to other people. And I think that I was much more selfish. Not to say that all of that is perfect or fixed or anything, but just I know that I'm like a completely different person than I was growing up. And I've had to say that even to remind people, for example, my mother, like, I'm not the person I used to be, okay? And I say that because I think I was just so, I don't know, I think I was like just more controlling, demanding. I had to impress my opinions all the time, share them or make them known or have a say in a conversation.
You described yourself to me once, like a while ago, maybe as like kind of cold.
Yeah, I was. It's like I was just cold. I think there's entitlement, and it's like I guess I've needed a lot of these hard times to break that down because I don't think you can. If think about it, if I had those weaknesses, how could you ever overcome that? If there weren't challenges and there weren't sufferings, what is going to humble you? Nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to become like weak and small and just injured in a sense to, I think, heal in a different and better way. And luckily I've had those opportunities because it wouldn't probably be very pretty if it didn't. So I'm very thankful to have kind of maybe learned through all of that. But fast forwarding, again, after going through a lot of things we haven't even touched on and probably don't even need to touch on, but I basically, through the Blessed Mother, I mean, long story short, I ended up doing a Marian consecration right at the age I turned 33. And I realized that this was the age of Christ at his peak of his glorification. And it felt like a special year to me was coming because of that. There was just like another connection and relatability to Christ in that sense. And I don't understand why that came like that to me, but I just felt that sense. And it led me to doing the 33-day consecration to Mary. What is that? Morning Glory. 33 days to Morning Glory. And as always, she leads you to Christ. And so at the end of that same year, which my birthday is in January, so it kind of always like coincides with the new year. So, which is cool because I think that like liturgically there's a lot going on with that too. And so at the end of the year and ending on Christmas, I finished the 33 days to merciful love that I didn't even know that existed, and things came up. There's so many like little mini miracles in that year and pertaining to the number 33 and always like noticing the correlation with things. But I mean, I was like so excited every single day to read like that day's meditation or the reflection for the day. Right. And it just felt like I was like being like taken on a journey, like going deep into that. And I love that that book is based on the teachings of Saint Therese heavily. And so she, again, resurfaces in my life over and over. And on that Christmas day, I had time to myself and I did the final consecration prayer and had like just an absolute like supernatural experience that is imprinted in my mind so clearly. And it's just Jesus like literally came, like I was on my knees praying and he came hovering above me and reached into his chest and pulled his heart out and literally put it down into mine. And it was like radiating like light and like kind of like burning, like a burning sensation. And it was like so vivid. And I like literally felt my heart change like physically. And then never been the same since. So many things changed immediately. I became so much more empathetic towards anything and everybody. I began to cry at like a commercial. I could like I actually would cry at like joy for somebody, and like I've never experienced that before. Like I just didn't have those feelings. My heart literally was like in the Bible. I think it's Ecclesiastes. I always try to remember. I can't remember the exact verse, but it says like your heart's of stone, and he'll give you a new heart. Yep. I think it's repeated. I don't think there's only one verse that like explains that, but I should be like an expert on that topic by now. But I actually felt like a stone heart completely dissolved and changed to like softness, and just my view on everything, the way I saw people, the way I like feel about anything and everything, able to sacrifice for things, able to be so much more sensitive to like listening to people and hearing them, and just less selfish and more like others focused. Yeah, like major empathy change, which I didn't even realize how much I was lacking that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and like that just gave me a new life. Like I actually finally was like, that's what that means, literally, to be born again. Like I actually felt like I became a new, different person. And I think that's so incredible because you don't always get to have, I don't think everybody has a moment like that. I think that sounds amazing, and people probably have their own versions of it. And I'm not saying that, again, this is just my own experience, and that I just actually, I wish I could find a way to help people replicate that. I want that for everybody. And it's like, all I could say is here was my formula, but like how you do it and in God's timing, right? But it's just like, it's just crazy how I had an overwhelming sense going into my 33rd year of life that likeness of Christ, I wanted that. And then he gave me that. And now it's been 8 years since then, 9 almost. And I will never forget it. And it's clear as day. And I get tears every single time I think about it. And I also really relate that at Mass with the Eucharist, like same position, I'm on my knees, and then the priest handing you, putting on your mouth. It's like the same motion, like every single time of Christ giving you his heart. And it just actually just feels like exactly the same all the time. And it's like being renewed, just feeling that like love, that grace. I don't know. It was just so tender and so loving. I just cannot even get over it. It's crazy. It just feels like yesterday or 5 minutes ago.
That's incredible.
But yeah, it was
Thank
incredible.
you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I know that it changed your whole perspective. So then how did that more specifically kind of change maybe the way that you even pray?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It absolutely changed the way I pray because it just became so much more intimate. And even just the way empathy impacts your prayer, the way you pray for other people, the way you like can meditate and contemplate on the emotion. That's why I love, again, the rosary with the mysteries being centered on emotions. And it's like you can feel them in a different way and see that. And my imagination became greater in that sense. Contemplative prayer became more real. Everything just became so much more intimate and personal in a sense. Yeah, like really interesting. And again, did not know that was lacking. That's what's scary.
Changed.
That's
Yeah.
kind of scary. Still having faith. And this kind of goes back to like virtue, honestly. Being steadfast in your faith, that is, I think, what gets you through all the times when you are struggling or suffering or like maybe feeling that dark night of the soul, or you're not always going to feel like this emotional connection and emotional high and like being so on fire and for your faith and all of that. But it's like I think for me, faith has been a gift that I've been given, just like perseverance. That's strong for me. I was not strong in charity. I've become stronger in that because of that.
Yeah.
But hope also was, I think, something that I had a little bit more strength in but charity was like my weak point and actually like putting love into reality and action. So, but the faith was I always had a strong faith, but because I thought I had a strong faith, which again sounds prideful, get some humility. But I did. I was like, you couldn't test my faith.
Yeah.
Nothing would test that. I was like,
no,
try
I
me.
this,
Like,
yeah.
you're not going to break my faith and you're not going to break my hope and you're not going to break like the intellectual side of it all, but the heart side of it all and the charitable side of it all and other virtues that follow with that completely changed and increased. So that's
amazing.
yeah.
Well, then I just have a few wrap-up questions to kind of run through with you. What advice would you give to others who are struggling to persevere through their own hardships?
I would honestly, my first thought is just going to, even if the prayers are hard, to just keep trusting God and that he does have a plan and he's like loving you through it and he chose you to suffer. And when you just know that, you can have peace and consolation through it. And even if it's just a matter of waiting it out, like just doing that alone is like burying it. And it's all you can do. There's no way out. It's just through. And just that simple prayer is just like all you can do sometimes. And just Jesus, I trust in you. Just say it.
Yeah.
You're not always going to feel it.
Yeah.
Like we have to know that you're not always going to have the feelings and
That's true.
emotions
Yeah.
of that consolation or that confidence. That's not the part that's needed. It's like the devotion of faith, not like what we're receiving back in confirmation.
Yeah, that's true. It's very good. What have you learned about the difference between worldly strength and spiritual perseverance?
I think that in some ways, like they can't be separated. I just think that they fuel one another. And I think that it's easier to imagine that spiritual strength fuels like the body and the human sense. But I think in reverse, it's the disciplines like and pains and realities of the body that strengthen the spiritual. So it's like actually more symbiotic and feed each other, I think.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality. I don't think that's just my experience. I just think that's how it is. And God gave us our humanity to know him and experience him. And so it all makes sense.
Yeah. For someone listening who feels weary or abandoned, what would you want them to know about God's love and mercy?
He loves us even unto death on the cross. So, I mean, if he can love you to the end, we can do that in return. And he's not going to abandon you. And you should not want to abandon him either. It, again, goes both ways there. I think showing up for him, being there with him on the cross, and in your sufferings and in your trials, and just like accepting it and just knowing that this is just where you're at and what is in store for you at the moment. It just makes it so much easier. It's like the sweet suffering.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more. When you think about your legacy, what do you hope people will see in the way that you persevered?
Ooh, that is such a good question. I love the word legacy. Well, I would want, it doesn't mean I'm accomplishing this, but I would want people to know that I could persevere and suffer just with love and patience, and in a sense that it increased my faith and love of the Lord and love of others, and that it's not something to like fear, or that hardship in any sense isn't a bad thing, but it's something to embrace.
Thanks. Good. And last question.
Reflecting on your journey and all the experiences that have shaped you, what message of perseverance and hope do you feel called to share with others who might be navigating similar challenges in their life?
Whether that be from miscarriages to health issues to divorce to all the things that starting their own business and like persevering through that. You've done so much in your life and been through so much.
Yeah, I guess, the perseverance and hope. I just think that we really are all given like just a different calling and a different path, and everything is like already laid out. Like God He gives you already what you need to get through it. And at the end, this life is just a short, challenging journey. And I just would say just to be patient and accept things as they come. Like I just think it's as hard as things can be. It's just, I take the more approach at this point of it's no big deal. It's just another cross. It's just another challenge or another like hurdle to just get you that much closer to heaven. And that's just the way it is. We don't get to choose when to stop. We don't get to choose like when the end of the challenges or the end of the suffering is at all. Like
we get to see the why or
you don't need to even. Yeah. We just don't have control over that. Like the journey is not over until God says it's over for you. So until that last day or that last breath or whatever it's going to be, like you do not get to say, okay, I'm done with the challenges, and I'm done with waiting, and I'm done with suffering, and I'm done with having to fight through with hope, and I'm done with having to wait for an answered prayer or whatever. It's like none of that is relevant at all. We have zero control over that. So you might as well just get used to it. Yeah. Right? It's like, it's not a big deal. Like,
accept that suffering is going to come.
It's going to happen. And also to just really enjoy and be grateful for all the moments that you're not in those phases, because I think there are such good breaths of fresh air and things to be thankful for. Every day that I feel well is like amazing.
Yeah.
And like I would not be thinking that if I didn't have to suffer through things.
Right.
So it's be so grateful for all of the good times, and then be grateful for the bad, because they are making you who you need to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like our pathway to heaven,
For sure. Awesome. Well, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on and
Thanks
sharing.
for having me. It's great talking. I feel like this topic is so deep, like you could go on forever.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
100%.
But it's good to get little bullet points out.
Yeah, it is. No, definitely. Yeah, thank you for getting vulnerable and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Wannabe Saints. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and rate us and review us, because that's very helpful to us becoming known. And another thing is that we're going to be at Seek this year, so that's big news. It is exciting, but also
very expensive.
Just to be real.
Yeah.
So if you have been touched by this podcast and want this to keep growing like we do, please, if you feel called to support us, you can support us on Patreon, and or your prayers are always very much welcomed and wanted.
Yes.
So, all right. Thanks again, Janelle.
Yeah.
Thank you. And until next time.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Wannabe Saints podcast.
If you have a question or topic you would like us to cover, reach out to us at wannabesaintspodcast@gmail.com or on Instagram at wannabe_saints.
You can find the link in our show notes.
Thanks for listening, and God bless.